This is Titans football with head coach Nick Hart on 89.1 The Bash. Our weekly chat with the Gibson Southern Titan head football coach is brought to you by these underwriting sponsors: A&B Contracting, A&T Concrete Supply, AgriGold, Gerald and Trudy Bledsoe, Hearts Gone Wild, Consolidated Grain and Barge, Cox Family Eye Care, Deaconess Women's Hospital, DuBois County Garage Doors Incorporated, Freudenberg Mini Mart, Hobstadt Summerfest Incorporated, in memory of Darwin and Eric Kalis, Jackson Seed Service, JL Farm Equipment, Kiesel Enterprises, Kissel Farms, Lewis Plumbing and Heating, Lowry Company, Marshall Disposal, Mayflower Gardens and Gifts, MyTech Systems, Pole Concrete Construction, Princeton Auto Park, Pro Rehab, Reinbrecht Homes, Rusty Reeves FC Tucker MD Realtors, Sandy's Pizza, Shoe Carnival, South Gibson Grain, T. Konya Distributing, 10 Barge Seed and Turfgrass Supplies, Total Seed Solutions, United Fidelity Bank, VFW Post 2714, Vertical Tile, and by Ziliak Enterprises. Titans football with head coach Nick Hart starts now on 89.1 The Bash.
Welcome to Titans football with head coach Nick Hart. I am Bob Bowser, and joining me is head coach Nick Hart. And coach, your Titans are now 9-0 overall, 7-0 in the Pocket Athletic Conference, and Pocket Athletic Conference champions after defeating Southridge on Friday night. So let's take a look at the scoring plays and some of the team and individual stats from the ball game. Starting off in the first quarter with 3:56 remaining in the first quarter. That was the very first drive of the game. Seemed like an eternity that Southridge had the ball. They finally run it in from 1 yard out. Ross Eckert carried the ball in. And the point after kick by Jose Ariza is good, 7-0, Southridge on top. Then the Titans come back with 7:50 to go in the second quarter. A 23-yard field goal attempt by Chandler McKee is good, 7-3, Southridge on top. Then Southridge comes back 30 seconds later with one of at least three huge plays on the night for their offense, as Jace Harter completed a pass to Nolan O'Brien for 64 yards. The point after kick by Jose Ariza is good, 14-3, Southridge on top. And then the Titans come back just before halftime, a big points on the board right here for the Titans. With 27 seconds remaining in the first half, Isaac Sellers completed a pass to Chandler McKee for 22 yards. The point after kick by Chandler McKee was no good, and that puts us at our halftime score of 14-9. Then starting out in the second half, as little scoring as there was in the first half, it was an offensive explosion for both teams in the second half. Starting out on the first drive of the third quarter with 10:41 remaining in the quarter, Dylan Stefanich ran it in from 48 yards out right up the gut. Point after kick by Chandler McKee was good, 16-14. Titans have their first lead of the ball game. Then Southridge comes right back with 9 minutes and 50 seconds to go in the third quarter. Tucker Shank runs it from 65 yards out. Point after kick by Jose Ariza is good, 21-16, Southridge on top. Then the Titans with the football, 5 minutes to go in the third quarter. Chandler McKee completes a pass to Nick Maurer for 10 yards. The point after kick by Chandler McKee is good. Titans regain the lead, 23-21. Then with 3:40 remaining in the third quarter, Jace Harter completed a pass to Nolan O'Brien for 53 yards. Point after kick by Jose Ariza was good. And Southridge now regains the lead at 28-23. And then starting the fourth quarter with 10:14 remaining in the ball game, Tucker Shank ran it from 50 yards out. Point after kick by Jose Ariza is good. It's a 12-point deficit now, 35-23, Southridge on top of the Titans. But then the Titans come right back, and with 8 minutes and 7 seconds to go in the ball game, Dylan Stefanich runs it in from 3 yards out. Point after kick by Chandler McKee is good. 35-30, Southridge still on top by 5 points. And remember, that happened with 8 minutes to go. All of the excitement really, really took place in the last 2 minutes of this ball game when the Titans get it back and score with 27 seconds remaining in this Pocket Athletic Championship ball game as Chandler McKee ran it in from 11 yards out. The 2-point conversion pass from Chandler McKee to Nick Maurer was good. And that brings us to the final score, 38-35, Titans, back-to-back Pocket Athletic champions.
Yeah, very proud of our team. And, it was just, to be honest, it's one of those games that, neither team should have lost. It was just an incredible football game. We were able to make, one more play in the end to get the win. But just, very proud of our guys. Early in the game, we have an 11-point deficit. In the fourth quarter, we got a 12-point deficit. And we just, kept competing and kept clawing to try and find a way to win.
Well, and Coach, I know Jason and I have been a part of broadcast between the Golden Aces for 5 years and now your program this year. We've had a few of those type of games that are just games that you'll remember for a lifetime. If we could write a book about it, they'd each be a chapter in the book. And this ball game, we can't determine yet, and this may be the number one game that we've ever covered, just in the magnitude of it. But also, we had a couple games with the Golden Aces in playoff time. I mean, you're talking against Greenville, it was 72-71 was a final score. And with like 2 minutes to go in the game, there was a 2-score lead for the Golden Aces. And the week before, we were down at Carterville, and the same thing happened in that ball game. Not quite. It was in the 50s, but 140 points between two teams is nuts. But I think this ball game, your team down 2 touchdowns, 12 points with 10 minutes to go in the game, in a game that Southridge has kind of dominated throughout. It was amazing.
It really was, and I just think shows a lot about the character of the kids on our football team, that they just continue to compete and play hard and find a way.
Well, let's take a look at some of the team stats from this ball game. Matter of fact, as close as this game was, looking at the total offense, Southridge had 483 yards of offense. Your Gibson Southern Titans had 485. You win by 3 points on the scoreboard, 2 yards on the stat totals.
Yeah, it's pretty impressive, how close that ended up.
And then looking at the passing for each team, Southridge had 152 yards of passing, while your Titans amassed 345 yards through the air. Now, rushing-wise, Southridge had 331 yards, and the Titans had 140 yards. Penalty-wise, the Zebras were a little busy on Friday night. Some hankies flying out there. 8 penalties against Southridge for 85 yards. 6 penalties against your Titans for 55 yards. And turnovers, Southridge had 3 turnovers, while your Titans had 2. This was just one of those ball games. It was like 2 heavyweight champions going at each other.
Yeah, it was, I thought both teams showed a lot of grit because it seemed like there were the 2 times where it got 2 scores apart. But other than that, it was always, we like in the second half, starting out, it was 14-9, then we made it 16-14, then they answered, then we answered. Everybody just kind of kept answering each other and made for a great game.
All right, so let's take a look at some of the individual stats now for the Titans. Isaac Sellers started the first half. He was 10 for 19, 118 yards, 1 touchdown, and an interception. And then Chandler McKee comes in the second half, and Chandler was 16 for 22, 227 yards, 1 touchdown, 1 interception. And that just tells me that combined they were 26 for 41. I mean, this Southridge team has a very, very good defense, and they were 26 for 41. Chandler coming in for his first snaps of the year in a ball game. Outstanding job.
Yeah, it really was. I thought our receivers did a great job. They were bringing some pressure. I thought our O-line did a great job of picking up the pressure the entire night. And I just can't, say enough about Chandler coming in and playing like that in the second half. We had worked and put together a package for him of stuff we were going to run in the event that Isaac got banged up. And then we'd build off that package, if he was unable to play in a full game. And so I brought Chandler in the office at halftime and said, hey, you know that package we've worked on? He said, yeah. I said, none of it applies to the way they're playing defense. So we went through kind of, some of the passing game that we were going to use and stuff. And he's, okay, yeah, I know him. I mean, I play receiver, so I know their outs. And so just to play like that and not have any reps, what he was doing, it's just that's one of the most impressive performances I've ever been able to coach.
Well, let's also then talk about the receivers that were catching these passes. Nick Maurer had 8 receptions, 134 yards, and a touchdown. Big night for Nick Maurer.
Yeah, I did. We liked that matchup a little bit, and Nick did a great job of getting open, made a couple of tremendous catches, and had a great night.
Well, and Chandler McKee in the first half only as a receiver, he had 6 receptions for 80 yards and 1 touchdown. Wes Obermeyer had 4 receptions for 63 yards. Dawson Witt had 2 receptions for 32 yards. Caleb Carpenter, Neon Dion coming in there, 4 big-time catches that were needed to move the chains for 23 yards. Seth Kissel, 1 big catch for 8 yards right there on the near sideline. And then Dylan Stefanich also had 1 reception for 5 yards. So in a ball game of this magnitude, we're talking 7 guys caught the football in this game.
Yeah, that's phenomenal.
It's called team effort, right?
It really is, and it shows that we've got a lot of weapons that we can get the football to. So I thought our receivers just had a phenomenal night on Friday.
Well, and then looking at the rushing statistics here, Dylan Stefanich had 18 carries for 88 yards and 2 touchdowns. And I tell you, with that Raider defense, as tough as nails as they were, I mean, I told you I thought that Heritage Hills defense was outstanding, and they brought the wood. Well, this Southridge Ball Club, they really laid the wood on Friday night. 88 yards on 18 carries. That's a 4.9 average. Outstanding job by the offensive line to give him holes to run through.
Really outstanding job because, the box was pretty loaded up, and that allowed us, to throw the ball with the some of the success that we did. So great job by the O-line of creating some creases and Dylan for finding them.
And then Isaac Sellers in the first half had 6 carries for 29 yards. And then Chandler McKee had 13 carries for 23 yards and the big touchdown to take the lead at the end of the ball game. So let's now take a look over on the defensive side of things. Trace Matzel led the way with 12 tackles and a forced fumble. Trace had 9 solo and 3 assists. Luke Miller, his inside mate, had 11 tackles, 8 solo, and 3 assists. Tyler Gady had 7 tackles. Caleb Carpenter was in on 10 tackles. He had 5 solo and 5 assists. Devin Mills was in on 7 tackles with 5 solo and 2 assists. And I also should mention that Caleb Carpenter had an interception. Bailey Neufelder also had an interception. That secondary just likes to catch the football. I think they're trying to tell you something, Coach. They want to be on the offensive side too. But, I tell you, we just listed off there 6 guys leading your ball club in tackles. Those inside linebackers got a workout all night long.
Yeah, they did. And the way I remember the game, it's hard to believe we tackled them that many times. But no, I thought our defense after that first drive, I thought we did a lot better job play to play. We just allowed too many explosive plays, which obviously cannot happen. If you take away those big plays, I really thought from down to down, and again, I didn't really remember this until I watched film. But down to down, kind of after that first drive, I thought we played pretty well on defense. But those big plays, are just backbreakers, and it's tough to overcome that. And luckily, we were able to make enough plays. And then obviously, Austin Ziliak and the rest of the defense makes a big stop on the big 4th down to get us the ball back with a chance to win the game. So, and that's what matters. Sometimes it doesn't. Have to be great. You pick each other up and you find a way to win in the end.
All right, so let's take a quick break here. When we come back, we'll get your overall thoughts from the Pocket Athletic Championship ball game concerning the offense, defense, and special teams. But right now, we need to thank some of the underwriters of Titans football with head coach Nick Hart right here on 89.1 The Bash.
You're listening to Titans football with head coach Nick Hart on 89.1 The Bash. Tonight's show is brought to you by the following underwriting sponsors: A&B Contracting, Best One Tire, Gerald and Trudy Bledsoe, Cox Family Eye Care, Freudenberg Mini Mart, Jackson Seed Service, Kissel Farms, Marshall Disposal, Pole Concrete Construction, Sandy's Pizza, T. Konya Distributing, United Fidelity Bank, and by Vertical Tile. Are you interested in learning how modern firearms are made and operated? Then the gunsmithing program at Wabash Valley College could be your silver bullet. Learn the basic knowledge and skills of gun repair and custom manufacturing. In our spacious lab, you'll build 3 modern firearms, a Model 1911 pistol, an AR-15 rifle, and a bolt-action rifle. Career opportunities include top manufacturers, law enforcement agencies, and more. The shooting industry is booming. Contact WVC to learn more at 618-262-8641 or visit www.iecc.edu/WVC.
Thank you for tuning in to 89.1 The Bash for Titans football with head coach Nick Hart. All right, Coach, I'm going to change it up this week. Let's start off with that defense that we were just talking about in week number 9 against Southridge. Starts off, Southridge gets the football, an 8-minute plus drive to start the game, 3, 4, 5 yards and a cloud of dust, even though there's no dust on the turf field, but that's the old Woody Hayes looking at things. And they just kept punching it down the throat. And sometimes teams can break after that. This ball club didn't. And I did in the last segment, you had mentioned how the defense after that first drive really kind of picked things up, except for a few big plays. Mm-hmm. And there were those few big plays. And we can talk about those as much as you want. But at the same time, the defense did step up. And I did like how you mentioned Austin Ziliak coming through, yep. Big number 40 coming through there, making that play, the last offensive play for real that Southridge had that could have made a difference. Yeah, it was a huge play by him, and our entire right side of our defense did a good job of getting a push, and Austin was able to run it down from the backside. But that first drive, you got to give Southridge credit. They came out, they kicked our butts on that first drive. It was an impressive drive by them. We weren't very physical at the point of attack, or really we weren't really physical anywhere on that first drive. Then, like I said, I thought we improved as the game went on. Unfortunately, we made some mistakes and allowed those big plays. However, you got to give credit where credit's due. Southridge's offense puts you in the position to make those mistakes. You really have to account for everybody in play action and all those things. It's a very, very good offense. They made some very good calls against us. But, again, just like they're probably saying they should have made some more plays against our offense, we feel like, we should have prevented some of those big plays from happening. Well, and the thing is, too, when you're talking about you're facing a wing T, very disciplined ball club, that's things that I could see from clear up in the booth, that they're a very disciplined ball club in how they handle the football. You got to be careful with the fakes and the carrying out of things, and they carried them out. There were times that I didn't know if Hart, the quarterback, had it, or if Shank, the running back, had it, or O'Neal, I think's his name. I'm having a hard time remembering from Friday night, but it's just like option football. You've got to play disciplined defense, and if one piece doesn't do their job, then it doesn't matter what the other 10 are doing, and it makes it very tough. But when it counted, this team picked themselves up, and it was next tighten up, and they got the job done. They did, and I thought Southridge is very, very well coached, and if you're not playing discipline, they'll hold you accountable and make you pay for it, and that's what happened on Friday night. They're tremendously well coached, very disciplined, like you said, and very, very impressed with that football team. Well, now let's go over to the offensive side of the football, where at times, when you had the football, we'd get a first down, maybe a couple of first downs, then all of a sudden we'd have a breakdown here and there, or sometimes get behind the chains with a few of those penalties that happened. And, of course, I'm going to say it. You can't, but I will. There were some things that I'm noticing up there, and maybe listeners heard too, that I felt was a little hocus pocus out there. But you know what? A lot of times you fight back from it, and the offense has fought back from adversity all year long with some things that have happened as far as penalties and so forth. But On this night, it was tough sledding, especially there in the first half. And then the offense, once they got the ball first in that second half, it seemed like the tempo of the game. I mean, it's obvious. There was score after score after score. That's not the game that Southridge really wanted to turn it into.
No, and I think that was the biggest thing. I mean, in the first half, I think we scored on 2 of our 3 possessions. We just didn't have the ball very many times. So, or it was 2 of 3 or 2 of 4. But I thought our execution was very good on offense. Obviously, the 2 turnovers makes it tough, but it's one of the deals when you got to throw it 41 times. You're opening yourself up to that, and their kid on the one, we're going in to score to take the lead. 3 or 4 minutes left in the game, their kid peeled off of a route and made a remarkable play. But I thought our execution was very good. We were good on third downs. This week I think it was like 10 of 18 on third downs. But anytime you can have the success against a team like Southridge, offensively, where we had 485 yards and 25 first downs. That's a lot of first downs in a football game, and we ran 78 plays, which is kind of where we want to be for a full game. I thought our offensive execution was very, very good.
Well, and let's go back now to the last minute and a half when you had the football and things are going down. There was a couple pass interference calls, which once in a while we need to educate the listeners and the fans out there that in high school football, regardless of what you see on Saturday afternoon or on Sunday afternoon, in high school football, if the ball's in the air, you can't touch the receiver. Those are the rules. But sometimes it gets called, sometimes it doesn't. And I know the listeners heard me on a few different times. I thought Dawson Witt was interfered with in the first half of play down near the goal line on a pass, even though, it was probably uncatchable, but there's no such thing in high school football. But your ball club there, they get down, and it's, first and goal from about the 11-yard line when Chandler takes off.
Yeah, it was we were running a little play down to the left, and Southridge did a great job of covering it. We thought it was there. And our offensive line did a great job of protection. He had all day. He looked to the left, to the route wasn't there. He came back to the right. Then he got a little pressure and went out. Good thing he didn't hear me because I was yelling, throw it away, throw it away, throw it away. Because, we had a play in our back pocket, the next play that was going to be called, regardless of if, he threw it away or got tackled on the field of play, was the play that we ran on the 2-point conversion that was wide open. So that was the next play that was coming up. So, we thought we had that. We thought we had the play that he took off on, but we didn't. But we really thought we had that throwback play there. So I was yelling, throw it away, throw it away, throw it away, so we could, make sure we had everybody set up with an incomplete pass and everything. But just made a remarkable play of being able to, get out and get to the pylon.
Well, and as big a night as Nick Maurer had, I mean, he had a huge night. In that first half, it was also Chandler McKee on the receiving end of things that come up big. He had the big touchdown reception. I thought there was no way. Isaac Sellers puts that ball, literally right on the dime for Chandler McKee to catch. The defender was right there. The defender did everything he could do, and Chandler comes up with the beautiful catch right at the pylon. But then in the second half, when Chandler now goes to the quarterback role, coming into the ball game was Neon Dion, Caleb Carpenter. And the young man, while he didn't have any speed burst to take care of things, he had some Cole Beasley type catches, the little Dallas Cowboy receiver that gets all those possession catches right now. He had the 3, maybe 4 chain moving receptions, which were huge for your offense.
Going back, the one before half was huge to get, and Isaac was already hurt at that point, so he was able to throw the touchdown pass.
And he did that hurt.
He was already hurt and threw that ball on the dime, and Chandler went up and got it. It was just an unbelievable play, and shows the heart that Isaac has, that he didn't want to come out of the game. He was ready to fight me and the training staff, everybody else at halftime whenever. It was determined he wouldn't go back in the ball game. So kid just has an unbelievable amount of heart, and it's unbelievable that he's able to throw the ball like that, the way he was hurt. But Caleb made some huge catches on third and 4. He'd go get 4.5 for us and stuff. And some of those catches were really, really tough. So he stepped up big for us.
Well, Seth Kissel also had a huge reception there, right in front of you, in fact, on the near sideline. And boy, I tell you, it was a big catch at a big moment.
Yeah, it was. Really just kind of helped
On
keep the
senior
drive
night.
going. Yep. And, Seth's done a great job for us all year.
All right, well, let's go over to the special team side of things. I mean, we had one missed extra point opportunity, and I think that was not so much on the kick. If I remember right, it was on the snap and the hold.
Yep.
But otherwise, Chandler did a great job of putting the ball through. One time I know he even had to stutter step and still kicked it through easily. But those three, Isaac Cox and Bailey Neufelder and Chandler, they've done a fabulous job all year. So it's got to be relieving to know that when you score, you're going to get an extra point.
Yeah, we're well over 90% on the year, which is just remarkable at the high school level, and it is very refreshing to know that over 90% of the time the ball's going to go through the uprights, and we were able to get a field goal, which obviously ended up being the difference in the ball game. And Chandler had a couple of terrific punts as well, and I thought our punt coverage was good the entire night, and I thought our kickoff team did a really good job as well. Lucas Ploss made a big play. After the game-winning touchdown, we squibbed it down, and Lucas Ploss on the kickoff team had the kid kind of cut back the squib, and Lucas made a great tackle and kept them pinned pretty deep.
All right, well, Coach, we need to thank some of the underwriters of Titans football with head coach Nick Hart. And when we come back, we will take a look around the Pocket Athletic Conference to wrap up the regular season and get prepared for the first week of the IHSAA playoffs. As you are listening to 89.1 The Bash and Titans football with head coach Nick Hart.
You're listening to Titans football with head coach Nick Hart on 89.1 The Bash. Brought to you by these underwriting sponsors: A&T Concrete Supply, Carts Gone Wild, Daylight Farm Supply, Deaconess Women's Hospital, Hobstadt Summerfest Incorporated, JL Farm Equipment, Lewis Plumbing and Heating, Mayflower Gardens and Gifts, Princeton Auto Park, Shoe Carnival, 10 Barge Seed and Turfgrass Supplies, and by Ziliak Enterprises. Looking for a job in agriculture? Then Wabash Valley College is the place for you. We have courses that can help prepare students for careers in farms and other ag-related occupations, including ag sales, marketing and mid-management positions, and ag suppliers. Our programs have great instructors to help you get to where you want to be. For more information, call WVC today at 618-262-8641 or visit www.iecc.edu/WVC.
Welcome back to Titans football with head coach Nick Hart on 89.1 The Bash. I am Bob Bowser, and joining me is head coach of the Titans, Nick Hart. All right, Coach, let's talk Pocket Athletic Conference. And looking at things from the final regular season ball games, Forest Park shuts out Tell City 20-0. How about the Rangers in that ball game?
Yeah, great win for them, and Coach Fuse is a great guy, so I'm really happy to see them get that win to finish off the regular season.
Well, and I know I've been in a position sometimes coaching-wise that the season's not going the way you want it to go, obviously. And in Illinois, we didn't have playoffs, so once you were done, you're done with that Week 9 ball game. And there was one season, my seniors on senior night pitched a shutout, and man, what a feeling those kids had. They thought they had just won the state championship, and that was a great thing to see with those kids.
Yeah, absolutely.
But then also looking at Heritage Hills defeat South Spencer 28-7. I'm still waiting to see that South Spencer club to get on a roll, but Heritage Hills obviously has bounced back very well.
Yeah, very well. Hold that team to 7 points. The way they've been rolling offensively is a really impressive showing.
And potentially obviously the Pocket Athletic Conference Championship ball game at Jack Jewell Field was the game, the premier game of the evening, where your Titans won 38-35. But another one for fans that was just had to be a lot of fun. Pike Central defeats North Posey 50-49 in overtime. Holy cow.
Oh, what a game. Wow, there was even more explosive plays in that game than in our game. That's a lot of points, and good for Pike Central to get that win and get some momentum going before the playoffs start.
Well, so the way the Pocket Athletic Conference shakes out, the Gibson Southern Titans on top, back-to-back PAC championships. The Titans finished 7-0 in conference play, 9-0 overall. Southridge finishes 6-1 in conference, 8-1 overall. Heritage Hills is 5-2 in conference play, 7-2 overall. North Posey finishes out 3-4, 5-4 overall. Pike Central also finishes out 3-4 and 4-5 overall. And South Spencer finishes out 3-4 in the conference and 3-6 overall. Then Forest Park, they got their first victory in conference play. They're 1-6 in the conference, 2-7 overall. And Tell City was 0-7 in conference play and 1-8 overall. So let's take a look here to the first week of the playoffs for the Pocket Athletic Conference ball clubs. Starting right off here, I'm going to look right at Southridge at Heritage Hills in sectional 31, I believe it is. Man, here's that blind draw again that I went off on a tangent a couple weeks ago, and I felt good going off on a tangent, but I'm not going to do it tonight. Southridge at Heritage Hills. Southridge needs to bounce back after a tough loss and potentially one that they're looking at as a disappointing loss. Heritage Hills coming in off of victory, but Southridge defeated them by 12 points earlier in the season. This is going to be a big ball game in the jungle.
A very big game, and it's always a good game when those two get together. And it's one of those deals. It's really hard to beat a good team twice, and it's not because it's just when you beat a good team, sometimes you got to have things go your way a little bit, and sometimes they don't always go your way a second time. But it's going to be a great game between those two.
Well, and looking at that in sectional 31, I'm looking at sectional 31 here right now, and you've got Brownstown Central in there. They're 8-1. Charlestown is 8-1. Those are some schools that, after having done the show with you for the last several years here, those are some names that pop into my mind that I've seen quite often, and I know you want to take them out of your mind at times. But either one of those ball clubs, Southridge or Heritage Hills, they can get this. They can get sectional 31.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, they have the toughest draw because they have to beat each other, then they'll have to beat Charlestown, then they'll have to beat Brownstown. Those Brownstown and Charlestown have great programs, so do Southridge and Heritage Hills. There's a lot of good football in that sectional.
All right, so let's take a look here. Also, I believe in Class 2A, Forest Park 2A.
Yes.
So it'll be Forest Park at South Spencer. This is going to be a ball game. South Spencer, waiting to see because we know what kind of talent that they have. 11-man iron football going both ways, but yet Forest Park coming off of a victory. It'll be interesting to see how that game turns out.
It really will. Another conference game, where you're seeing somebody for a second time.
Well, and then there's also in Class 2A, North Posey at Evansville Mater Dei. Speaking from my vantage point of what I've seen over the years and paying attention to Evansville football as well as Indiana football from afar, ouch. You got to take on Mater Dei right off the bat. But you know what? The Vikings and Vikings fans, get out there and get after it. Hey, give them all they got. Put them on the ropes and see if they respond.
Yeah, that's what you got to do. You got to go in there and try and compete. And Coach Rinkwitz will have them ready to go. But also, I wouldn't volunteer to go play a Mater Dei team that's where Coach Gable's in those guys' butts after losing 2 straight. He's going to have their attention this week and have them ready to play.
All right, and of course, then Tell City is at North Central Farmersburg. I can be very brutally honest right here. I know zip about North Central, but definitely want to wish Tell City the best.
Yeah, same here. I know North Central's it's a long drive for them. It's up by Terre Haute, and that's a long drive for Tell City, but we certainly hope that they can go up there and get a win.
All right, so now let's take a look. We're getting out of the PAC a little bit, and I know there's a couple teams I didn't talk about, but that's because they're in Sectional 32, and looking on the other side of Sectional 32, it'll be Pike Central at Washington. Pike Central's 4-5. Washington is 5-4. Pike Central out of the PAC. Washington out of the Big 8 Conference. And this year, I think it's been a very good season for the PAC when they take on the Big 8. Pike Central and those athletes could wreak some havoc there in Washington on Friday night.
Yeah, they could. And, I think one of the things that probably isn't talked about enough in our area is the 2 turnaround seasons that both of those schools have had. Washington getting to 5 wins and Pike Central getting to 4 is the most wins either one of those two's had in quite a while. So congratulations to both of those programs on great seasons, and it should be a good game on Friday.
And of course, then on the same side of the bracket will be Evansville Memorial at Gibson Southern, and we'll talk that game just a little bit more here after a bit. But let's now go to the other side of the sectional 32 bracket, where Vincennes Lincoln out of the Big 8 will take on Mount Vernon out of the Big 8. Vincennes Lincoln is 3-5. Mount Vernon is 0-9 on the season. Kind of surprising that Mount Vernon's 0-9 on the season, at least to me. I mean, I know you saw them very early in the year. They've got I believe it's coach's son is the quarterback. You know what? And they've had some athletes. When I've been broadcasting from the other side of it still, when I was with Mount Carmel, Mount Vernon always had the athletes, and that's what makes it hard for me to see them at 0-9. Vincennes Lincoln at 3-5. They started out the year like gangbusters, and then all of a sudden things happened, I guess.
Yeah, they took Princeton to the brink, last Friday night, and I think that game was relatively close, 1 or 2 touchdowns when they played in the regular season. So it should be another very good game. I think all 4 games in our sectional on Friday will be very good games.
Well, and then Sullivan will go at Princeton. Princeton, obviously we saw them in the Civil War game, as I like to dub it, the North Gibson versus South Gibson. And Princeton that night, the way that they played against your ball club, I really feel that if they can come in and play that way, they can give themselves a shot to compete in this sectional.
Yeah, absolutely. And Sullivan's another very good team. They have a very good, we played them last year in the sectionals. They have a very good quarterback, and there's probably they might have to change out some light bulbs in the scoreboard Friday after that game. I think there's going to be a lot of offense, and it should be a really good game.
All right, Coach. Well, there's one more segment to go, which means it's time to get the listeners ready for Friday night as your team prepares to take on Evansville Memorial for the first round of the IHSAA sectionals in sectional 32 play. But first, let's thank some of the underwriters of Titans football with head coach Nick Hart right here on 89.1 The Bash.
You're listening to Titans football with head coach Nick Hart on 89.1 The Bash. Tonight's show is brought to you by the following underwriting sponsors: AgriGold, Consolidated Grain and Barge, DuBois County Garage Doors Incorporated, in memory of Eric and Darwin Kalis, Kiesel Enterprises, Lowry Company, MyTech Systems, Rainbrecht Homes, Pro Rehab, DFW Post 2714, Rusty Rivas FC Tucker MD Realtors, South Gibson Grain, and by Total Seed Solutions.
Whether you want to be home every night or travel the open road, truck driving is a career that can do that for you. The Commercial Truck Driving Certificate at Wabash Valley College allows individuals to become proficient in the operation of trucks and semi-trailers. This stepping stone allows you to test for the Illinois CDL and DOT certification. For more information, contact Wabash Valley College today at 618-262-8641 or visit iecc.edu/WVC.
Welcome back to Titans football with head coach Nick Hart right here on 89.1 The Bash, or you may be using the free app to access the show on your cell phone. All right, Coach, week 1 of the playoffs. Your Titans will be taking on Evansville Memorial at Jack Jewell Field, and we will have all the action live on 89.1 The Bash with pregame at 6:45 p.m., 7 p.m. kickoff. I expect to see the Jewel completely packed as Memorial will enter this contest with an overall record of 6-3, and they sport a Sagarin rating of 13th in Class 3A. What do you expect to see from Evansville Memorial on offense?
Well, for offense, just as a whole, they're a very good football team, extremely well coached. Coach Hurley does a great job and his staff, and they've been to the state championship game twice with him, which you got to be well coached to do that. And they play in the SIC which really helps prepare them and get them better throughout the year for the playoffs. So we'll have our hands full on Friday night, but offensively. They do a lot of great things. They'll get in the I formation and different, twins and I pro and all that. And, and they want to run the football and they get in the I, but they do a really good job of complementing that with bootlegs and play action passes and stuff. And then, so they'll either be in the I or they'll be in the spread. And then when they get in the spread, they're doubles, trips, empty. And the Lindauer kid, can really throw it around, and he's only a sophomore, so we'll probably see him a couple more times, throughout his high school career. But they're very, very efficient on offense. They do a great job. They take care of the football. Very, very sound in what they do. And like I said, I think they do a really good job. Everything they do kind of complements. Everything, it really goes into place. Everything they do. So a lot of. It's a completely different challenge than last Friday night, but definitely a challenge. They have a lot of playmakers, and their offensive line's very good. So, we're really going to have to bring our A game on Friday defensively.
All right, so let's go to the defensive side for Evansville Memorial. How do you expect them to shut down your high-octane offense? I mean, I know they've taken on some teams like Castle, and they also took on, of course, the Evansville schools of Wrights and Central and Harrison. Those teams have some very good offenses. What do you think that they will do to try and shut your high-powered offense down?
Well, they're a 4-man front, and they'll go back and forth. They play a lot of cover 3 and cover 4, so they kind of mix it up there, and then they'll blitz and do some movement up front, some stunts and stuff like that, especially in pass situations. So, we got to be prepared for all that stuff. But, the main thing is even going back to, when I used to play against Memorial in high school, and, it's never really changed. They are so physical defensively, very aggressive. They're not going to sit back and let you do what you want. So they're very physical. They fly around. I think their front four is very, very good. Just like offensively, very well coached. You're not going to out formation them or out scheme them. They're not going to bust a coverage. They're not going to do a lot of that stuff. So you're going to have to earn every single yard and every single point that you get.
All right, so let's go now to special teams. What have you seen out of their kicking game and kick return games for the Tigers?
Just like everything else, they're very solid. Kicker, they mix it around. He'll kick it to about the 10. Then they'll mix in squibs and stuff like that. Makes the majority of his extra points. Punting game's very, very good. And then, that some of the athletes that they have at receiver and in those spots and in their secondary are back there for kick returns and punt returns. So, we got to make sure that we're very efficient in our kick coverage.
All right, so 7 p.m. ball game at the Jewel. 6:45 will be on air. Jason and I will have the pregame show for you on 89.1 The Bash, or you can catch it on your cell phone on the app, or you can catch it on the computer at bashradio.com. So, Coach, any other things that you would like to bring to the table for this ball game?
We're just very excited. It's a huge playoff game. You got we went undefeated and won our conference. They went 6-3 in a very difficult conference, and so you got two great teams going at it, and it should be a great atmosphere.
All right, Coach. Well, that's all the time we have for today's show. And Coach Hart, good luck on Friday night, and we'll see you after the game on the post-game show. And best of luck to the Titans as they begin their march toward Indianapolis. We would like to thank all of you for joining us here on 89.1 The Bash for Titans football with head coach Nick Hart. And be sure to catch us each week at 6 p.m. on Tuesday night for your inside look at Gibson Southern Titans football. But right now, before we sign off, we would like to thank all of the underwriters of Titans football with head coach Nick Hart right here on 89.1 The Bash.
This has been Titans football with head coach Nick Hart on 89.1 The Bash. The show is made possible by our underwriting sponsors, Ziliak Enterprises, DFW Post 2714, Vertical Tile, Total Seed Solutions, Tin Barge Seed and Turf Grass Supplies, T. Konya Distributing, United Fidelity Bank, South Gibson Grain, Shoe Carnival, Sandy's Pizza, Rusty Reeves FC Tucker MG Realtors, Reinbrecht Homes, Princeton Auto Park, Pro Rehab, Pole Concrete Construction, MyTech Systems, Mayflower Gardens and Gifts, Marshall Disposal, Lowry Company, Lewis Plumbing and Heating, Kissel Farms, Kiesel Enterprises, JL Farm Equipment, Jackson Seed Service, in memory of Darwin and Eric Kalis, Hubstadt Summerfest Incorporated, Freudenberg Mini Mart, DuBois County Garage Doors Incorporated, Deaconess Women's Hospital, Daylight Farm Supply, Cox Family Eye Care, Consolidated Grain and Barge, Carts Gone Wild, Gerald and Trudy Bledsoe, AgriGold, A&T Concrete Supply, A&B Contracting, and by Wabash Valley College. Join us next week for Titans football with head coach Nick Hart right here on 89.1 The Bash.